Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advancement Centre, and welcome to the world of magic and miracles, where once again, we launch ourselves way above everything to where we're on top of the wave and on top of everything that's happening in the world. In the past week or so, I've been encouraged to focus once again on being an author. And what that entails is allowing yourself to actually live in another world, to live in the world that I call the world of stories. And as you enter that world, everything else disappears. Every vision of yourself, every vision of everyone else, because you're looking at characters that come from somewhere else. Not that you made up in your head, but characters that live in other realms, characters that live in their own world, and characters that come from places that we've never been to. And so as I continue, I'm gradually moving further and further into the world of my Creator, where I have access to everything, and the world around me is so gentle and balanced that I don't have to do anything at all about making everything perfect. So if you can imagine yourself deep in a story, even if someone has given you a book, you can understand what it's like to live your whole day. There is no disturbance, yet you are acting as you're supposed to act in the present world. So what I've found is there is more than one other way to exist above everything, on a platform or without a platform. And it's gradually growing on me so that I'll be able to advance my skills without even thinking of what I'm doing. It's a great feeling. And every time you get a chance, visit that world, even if it's for a fraction of a second. Do a bit of daydreaming until you find you can daydream with your eyes open and your consciousness in the world that you live in and in the world of stories. The advantage is that you have an understanding in the world of stories. You know that you can follow your spirit. You know that you can select any character you wish and meet them, understand their world, and write it down. The skill of bringing that through into this world is one that belongs to many people. But it's not necessary to actually be an author. It's necessary for you to love what you do in every moment. And if you can get it from being in another world as well as in the world you're in, you have a big advantage. And once you do it for one world, you've done it for many. So you're skipping backwards and forwards from different stories, from different dimensions, from different realities, without any judgment, without any knowledge. And it makes you smile. Besides it being fun to talk about, you're actually living a different life. So when I turn up to talk to you, it jumps out in front of me and says, talk about me. Everybody needs to know you can live in more than one dimension all at the same time. I keep mentioning what it's like for a teenager or a young person in college, totally bored with the process that's going on, and they're off on a date with some beautiful lady or some beautiful man, or they're at the beach, or they're walking through the Alps, or skiing, or just visiting a friend. And you can tell they're somewhere else as well as where they are. But somehow it doesn't affect the awareness that they are supposed to live in. It just makes life much smoother, easier, and more gentle on your body. And in fact, most of those people who can daydream pass exams easily, because the moments that they're needed in the physical world are amplified. And that's what I find now that I'm leaning back towards the world that I really enjoy. I enjoy the world around me much more. Everyone mentions, you're looking very comfortable today. And little do they know, I am. But they can see it in my presentation in this world. So everything you do in every world enhances what you do in this world. It remains a mystery how that works. But it works, and it works all the time. And you'll notice if you're reading a book and you're really engrossed in the story, you don't have any pain. You don't have any worries. You don't have an awareness that you've got to go and pay a bill. You just stop the story at some point and you get up and go and pay the bill. You don't think about it. You don't focus on it. And so you've just discovered part of the awareness that comes with magic and miracles, that you can play around with your abilities and improve without even thinking about it. Your life, your position in the world, your feeling of well-being, and your physical health. So I've just presented a great mouthful, but it's a lifeful if you get hold of it. This is where you'll find all the secrets are in plain sight. When you start to write about a character and you find that it's outside the limits that you place on yourself, you create interest from everywhere, and you start to see the possibility in yourself. You feel the pull of the excitement. You feel the magic just in one scene or in a set of words. And you bring to life something that's tangible. but not explainable. Therefore, you can go as far as you want. You can live and enjoy and demonstrate a life that's not considered as part of your package. And once you do that, you increase the size of your package because you're actually living the story. And the story that you pick up is not the same as the commercial movies of a short story with a climax and some horror and some emotional interaction. The story you will actually find is a story about something beautiful, even exotic. Something that stretches your imagination, but doesn't come from your imagination. Because you are looking into another world, into another set of characters, you're only observing and enjoying what they're presenting for you. Sounds like something I made up. But in fact, I've been doing this for a long time. And all the characters in my Magic of Life series are real in many people's lives. And the fact that they come from a place that you can't find on the map. And they're able to visit this world in our time zones by simply traveling on a ship that goes through what you would call an electrical storm that shifts them from one dimension to another. And the story has characters that understand all this stuff that we're talking about. And children that can see past all the barriers and see into other worlds. And how we can communicate from one continent to another and have visual contact with the right vibration because it's our capability. And all this is being demonstrated in a written form that not too many people have read up to date. But it's a world that will support everybody in a different format because it overlaps this world. And I can assure you it's real. So now I'm talking about what we used to think was strange stuff. But in reality, I've had many people come up to me and say, this place exists, doesn't it? And the people exist. And they have capabilities that we haven't seen before, but they live simpler or a simpler life than we do. And with that sort of conversation, I just smile and say, whatever comes up for you is probably exactly right. And the technology that we experiment with in the books is pretty advanced. Past many of the technologies that are recorded in everyday life. But the reality of them is that when you read it, you can understand that it can be true, because it comes from places where you've been before. So now, in the next series, the next book, Book 3, I will venture further into those worlds and those dimensions to give you all an experience of what you can do and what you can have without doing any work, without believing anything, without understanding anything. It's a living entity if you just relax and enjoy. And on that note, I can say that there's a force that I spoke about last week, the force of nature, that carries all these phenomena that I talk about, all the simplicities that the characters present. They're all contained in that force of nature that we skip over. It is worth experimenting just in sitting for a short time and seeing if you can access the world of stories. And a little short story will come to you. And next thing you know, you're in there and you've forgotten about where you are or what you're doing. And when it's developed to a very fine stage, you can be doing your normal day's work and be on a spaceship, be traveling the world, anything you like. And then you understand all the statements that have been made over the years, where I say I communicate with the person who is everywhere, not with the person that you see in the mirror. I love everybody, but I don't necessarily love what they present in the world, because I see the whole being. And I talk to that being in the way that it knows me, in such a way that there's no chance of misunderstanding. So any misunderstanding that happens, it has been regenerated in the physical. But it's not me. And you'll be the same. Everything goes through the filter of your creator and is distributed in the correct manner to every being. And there's no direct front-to-front communication. That's false. You understand how a child is hurting without asking. You understand if someone needs a hug without asking. You understand that you're not putting up the front that they want to see. And that's when you get into opposition mode, because you have to cover up that it's you. So all that disappears as well. As we enter other worlds, we are guests, observers, and we're not involved. And because of that, the same thing starts to apply in the physical world. We are guests, we're not involved. We're here to present ourselves as we are, not to present ourselves under a label. And so, what happens when you present yourself as your label flashes on your forehead and says who you are and what you are? And everybody knows. And that's what we all enjoy as far as the clarity is concerned when we meet somebody. Even if we only have a fleeting sighting or feeling, we light up. Because as I've always said, it's the recognition of something from somewhere that we know is exactly what we need. It's a communication that is perfect. And it's not just someone you know. It's someone you've known forever that you've probably only seen for a couple of seconds. But when you go into the world of stories, every person is like that. Every person responds to the beauty of what you're seeing, to the story that comes to you, and to the joy that comes to your heart. And as you deliver that story, or even just read it, there are emotions that fly to the surface with such force that you wonder how you can handle it. And they're not emotions in the word that we have for emotions. It's a beautiful rush of signals, of sparkles, of yes, yay, everything all at once brings tears to your eyes. These are the things that we want for our children. These are the feelings that we want for ourselves. So move forward in a random manner, without a plan, with a smile on your face, with the gentleness in your heart that allows you to enter another world and be an honoured guest, to enjoy their story and everything that comes with it. And from there, I'm getting a pretty strong signal from Simmion that he'd like to add a few things. So if you just give me a couple of seconds. Hello, everyone. This is Simmion, coming to you from the outer reaches of the universe, bringing you energies to support your day and to take you further into the world of your Creator. As I listened to Robert there are many things jump into the air. Mainly the fact that we still exist. I'm from that world of stories. I'm from a place beyond your region. And I know the value in staying connected to one another. So when Robert mentions the world of stories, I almost jumped down there to join him. Because this is how we can transmit our message of realities into your world. There is no barrier set that says a story has to meet the laws of the government. A story has to meet the laws of nature, and a story has to meet the laws of physics. And so as our stories come to light, the endless word that's always been mentioned from our Creator comes into play. They used the word parable in the early days to tell you how they can pass on complex messages in the simplest of possible ways, so that there is no reaction and there is deep understanding. The stories that have already been delivered to your world are exciting, clear and clean, and they show possibilities that you know you can reach out to. You know they're within your grasp. Even being able to tell the future to somebody and it actually happens. To being able to see the future and see the person that you haven't met, only to find out you were correct years later. All these things are within your grasp. And the way for them to get into your system without objection is through stories. The story captures something that allows you to take away all limitation, because it's about somebody or something that you're interested in. It's about some exercise that almost blows your mind and makes you jump up and down and say, that was brilliant. This is the food for your essence, the food that allows you to go beyond anything you've ever known. As I visit people in their everyday life, I hold that vibration that gives them strength, that gives them comfort, and a sense of perfection in their life. But most of all, I carry a mystery. just like the mystery of the stories. There is always a quality in mystery that stretches all the facilities in your human body, all your mind powers, all your universal powers, stretches them to where they can run freely, to where they actually appear instead of being undercover, to where your glow is natural. And as I reveal my presence, there's a unique vibration for each person as a recognition. This also appears when you visit the world of stories. And before long, you will call on me through vibration only. No thought, no need for thought, and no need to be in a position where you think there is something wrong or you have some spare time. The occasion where you feel me is usually the occasion where you need to know I'm around. And you may not know why, but it switches your senses to something that is brand new. It allows the channels to open where our communication is clear, and your communication with your Creator is clear. And there is no need to even think about how those channels close, because it's just a part of the system that you're living in right now. It won't be long before closing communication channels, awareness channels, feeling channels will ever be considered. Everything will remain open and continue to generate new openings. They search into how the electrical system or the neuron system in your brain works, and they decide they have it all worked out until they check again and it's different. They state that there's damage that can't be fixed. And then out of nowhere, they can't find the damage because it didn't have to be fixed, it had to be replaced. All this comes from the excitement of mystery, of the possibilities, of all the things that I can feed to you that surpass the logical sequences that have been placed in your mind. The more I can enter at the most abnormal times, the more excitement appears in your being. And if you have ever felt me move across the room and followed me with your eyes, people, look at me, but they don't see me. But I know they're looking at me. In the very near future, you'll look, you'll see, you'll smile, you'll feel. And then we can all have our own stories. The real stories that will be delivered into other realms, into other dimensions, into other worlds, the same way that we receive all the stories from the world of stories. It's not complex, but it is a mystery. It's impossible to follow, but it's not impossible to ride with it. So sense the flow. Know that everything is in order. And simply split yourself into the processes that you're doing in your physical day and the adventures you're having in the worlds outside the little space you think is you. And I can assure you, the story will take over. The joy and happiness will just ooze from you. And you will be able to see me and others in a whole different form than what you've seen before. Those who have left the earth are still available because they're everywhere, the same as you are. Those who have never been on the earth are still available. Those who can do things that you think are amazing are only there to show you can do the same if you wish. But you'd be better off doing what you're good at when you find it. That is your gift to the world. Finding how is not the case. Extending yourself so that the gift will actually transmit through you into the physical world is what it's about. If we came up and delivered a big transfer chamber into your backyard, you would have emergency vehicles everywhere within 5 minutes, trying to find out what's going on. But if we say to you, you have one already, and it's part of you, and nobody can touch it, then you can adventure much, much further and start to produce the stories for other realms. Start to produce the reality of being able to do things from nowhere and bring things from nowhere and have a force inside you that gathers all those people who want to know about you. All those people in other realms and on other worlds. In your world, no one wants to know about you unless you're family or you're a celebrity. That's not how it is between worlds. And as you get used to how we are, you will find your world will change because it's exciting, It's healthy. It's mysterious and a little bit mischievous at times. So when we move further with all the developments that are no longer listed in other worlds, you'll find they appear in yours. That sounds a little strange, but what happens is the focus moves with the physical object. So the physical object can move from one world to another, and the focus goes with it. So that's just another little mystery I'd leave you with, of how one world loses focus on what they have developed, and they call it outdated. But in fact, it's never outdated. Whatever is developed in any world is as important as it was the first time it was delivered. And as it goes to different worlds, it changes to be the best thing that can be delivered at that time. So I'm getting into areas of mystery that you will love to play with. But for now, I will leave you all with the perfect way to be is to be in more than two places at once. To be, in fact, everywhere and be conscious of it all. It takes no practice, just simplicity. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I am Simmion.